Well, I had to restart the stream. We lost connection, and when it came back, it just didn't look right. And now it's raining much harder too, so it gave me an opportunity to put the umbrella up, as you can hear. But where we left off, we had walked down what I'll call the North Walkway at the World War II Memorial here in Washington, D.C. And we followed the significant events of the war in the Atlantic on this side. Atlantic. Now, around the memorial, and again, this is one of the polite criticisms of this memorial, is that there's just too much going on. Now, again, obviously World War II is a big topic, and it would be incredibly hard to design a memorial that is perfect and that makes everyone happy. I do think aesthetically there's just too much. And here's what I mean by that. I don't mean there's, too much in the way of all of the references to historical events. I think that's great. But what we have here around the circular shape of the memorial are these columns, each with a wreath, representing peace. And each column represents a state or territory from which soldiers, sailors, and other military personnel came to fight in the war. So from the Virgin Islands, the Philippines, Puerto Rico, Alaska, Arizona, Oklahoma, Wyoming, and you can go on and on around. Obviously, it's important to commemorate the people who served. I'm kind of not sure why it's important to put a column for every single state and territory in the United States. Because obviously, every single state and territory in the United States contributed to this war. So that's just a little, I don't know, it just doesn't, it's one of the features that could have been taken away. Now, am I saying the memorial should be smaller? No. But it just adds an element that's extra. I do think it's beautiful. 100%. I think it's beautiful. Hello, DD and KK. I just think it's one of those elements that, I don't know, just doesn't hold together. Now, there are two different sides to this memorial, Atlantic and Pacific, and I think that's important. Hi, Stephen. No, we're in Washington, D.C. We're at the World War II Memorial, sadly on a rainy day, doing a military appreciation hike from the World War II Memorial up to the World War I Memorial. So it's part of what I usually do on Memorial Day weekend, which is in a few weekends. I do the entire hike from the Capitol, where the Peace Memorial is from the Civil War era, all the way to World War II, World War I, back down to the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, Korea Memorial, and then back to the Capitol. But today I'm just doing part of that hike. Now, on a beautiful sunny day, this fountain would be going, and it's beautiful, and we will come back when the fountains are going. Now, also a bit of controversy with this memorial. This is one of the few where you're allowed to sit and put your feet in the water. And I think it's great. And the reason is on this sign. At the end of World War II, troops celebrated in the fountains of France. In honor of that time, you may sit with your feet in the rainbow pool, but don't walk or swim or run around. And I will be the old lady yelling at kids running through this fountain. Because I think that is incredibly disrespectful. But sit and put your feet in, absolutely. And I've done that, and I think it's great. Now, even the artistic choices around things here, like the water grates, the stars and stripes here, add a really nice touch. Hello, Rithorax. you know, Jesus would just walk across, right? You know, there would be no problem. This is a really shallow pool, by the way. This is just a few inches deep, as are most of the, you know, fountain pools here in Washington, D.C. Oh, Hero Square in Budapest. I've not been, but I will make sure I put that on my list. Stephen, thank you. So we're going to quickly make our way around. You know, and I do think the rain adds, you know, it's a different way to view. I always tell people who visit Washington, D.C. to come out during the day and then please come back at night to see these monuments and memorials and all the historic architecture at night, because it's a completely different view. But guess what? It's also a completely different view here in the rain. No, it's wet, but it's not slippery. It's not smooth stone, so it's not slippery. So here in the center of the Atlantic Memorial side, you see this part with eagles holding a wreath of peace is the sculpture. Again, all of these elements separately I like. It's just too busy all together. This is also a fountain. And you see here commemorated in stone all of the particular engagements. And here in the North Africa side, a lot of carnations and red roses. So I'm wondering if there was a recent commemoration. Of course, we're in the 60th, sorry, my gosh, it's not the 60th, it's the 80th. We're in the 80th year commemoration for those battles and events that occurred in 1944. No, 1945. I don't know where my brain is right now. 1945. We're in the 80th year commemoration and the end of the war. So continuing down here, and we're gonna walk. Is that a real? Yes, that was a real person standing there. Yeah, there's a lot of people out despite the rain. Lots of people out today. There's always something going on in DC. Rain or shine or 100-degree weather. And here, a great view of the Lincoln Memorial from here at the World War II Memorial. Now here's yet another element, and I like this element. I do. So on this wall are 4,048 gold stars. Each gold star representing 100 American service personnel who died or remained missing in the war. 405,399 American dead and missing from World War II are second only to the loss of more than 620,000 Americans during the Civil War. And so here, again, this would be at night. This would look absolutely beautiful at night. This would be lit up. And the engraving here says, "Here we mark the price of freedom." In the lives lost. Now we'll take a walk down the Pacific side, but when we hit the walkway, we'll be going backwards historically. Again, love the design. All of the elements are just slightly confusing, and that's not a huge criticism. But you have a clear division between Atlantic and Pacific. And on the Atlantic side, obviously, you're commemorating the battles and events in the Atlantic, and over here, the battles and events in the Pacific. But then why do you have the states and territories, you know, lined up this way? Because then, I don't know. I mean, I know no one would think that only soldiers from Delaware, or I'm sorry, soldiers from Delaware, New Jersey, Connecticut, and Maryland only fought in the Pacific. My grandfathers, both from Maryland, both fought in World War II, one in the Atlantic, no, sorry, two in the Pacific, and then I had an uncle who fought in the Atlantic. And here, same thing. This large sculpture with the eagles holding the wreath of peace. Commemorations of the battles here. My grandfather being at Okinawa. Let's see. Saipan, Philippines. Okinawa, yeah, would be at the end. And then the quote from General MacArthur. Today the guns are silent, a great tragedy has ended, a great victory has been won. The skies no longer rain death, the seas bear only commerce. Men everywhere walk upright in the sunlight. The entire world is quietly at peace. And then a view back, looking north from the Pacific side. We'll come back on a sunny day. So hopefully when I do my big hike on Memorial Day weekend, hopefully it'll be a sunny day. Hopefully not 150 degrees that day. I'm exaggerating. It's always hot on that day, but it's good. So we're walking up backwards chronologically on the Pacific side. We started with the quote at the end of the war by General MacArthur, and of course the quote by President Roosevelt, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. No matter how long it may take us to overcome this premeditated invasion, the American people in their righteous might will win through to absolute victory. And Admiral Nimitz. They fought together as brothers in arms. They died together, and now they sleep side by side. To them we have a solemn obligation. So going backward, the war in the Pacific, VJ Day, the liberation of the camps, the war in the Pacific, by sea, by air, on land, in the ships, those contributing back home on the home front, shipbuilding, and beginning with those hearing at home about the attack on Pearl Harbor. So we'll turn back and take one last look. A fitting tribute, an important tribute to all of those who served and were impacted by World War II, which is all of us here in the United States and Europe and the Pacific. Truly a world war. So my comments on the aesthetics of the memorial should in no way indicate that I don't think this is a fitting and appropriate memorial. I do. it just doesn't have the unity of other memorials. There's something to speak to simplicity. And this one was just slightly overbaked. We'll put it that way. Just slightly overbaked. So now we're going to walk from the World War II Memorial up to the World War I Memorial. And as you can see, the rain is coming down. Thank you for joining me on my walk here. Thank you, Lord Alcatraz and Stephen and Rithurax. I hope maybe the sound of the raindrops is calming and soothing and not annoying to everyone. So you can get to the World War II Memorial by parking on either Jefferson Drive or Madison Drive on either side of the mall. You can also get here by the Smithsonian metro stop, which is kind of up there. If you can peek through the trees and see the Department of the Interior building, there's a metro stop right there. And there's also metro stops on this side of the mall too. Plenty of ways to get here. Please don't avoid Washington, D.C. because you think there's no parking. That is simply not a thing. There is parking. Maybe on the busiest of work days, it might be hard when school's out, when you got the combination of people working here and all the school bus summer visitors. But truly, this is an easy city to visit, and I recommend it at all times of year and all times of day and night. There's a big race going on today, so the place where I normally park was blocked off, but I just went 2 blocks down and found another parking spot. That is one thing you do want to be careful of. Events. So in 4 weeks, when it is Memorial Day weekend, that is when things are it's a little more difficult to park. You'll still find a parking spot though. Lots of events on Memorial Day weekend, culminating in the National Memorial Day Concert, which is an amazing event. And it's also broadcast on our local PBS stations all across the country. So if you can't get here, you'll see a really great concert. I'm walking north on, make sure I get this right, 17th Street. Up to the World War I Memorial, but we will take a detour in front of the White House. I'm doing this a little, not in the same order that I normally do. Not in the same direction. Actually, I think I said earlier that I go World War II, World War I. I don't. On Memorial Day, I try to go in order. So I go Civil War, World War I, World War II. Then I go out of order and I go to the Vietnam Memorial first before the Korean War Memorial. Now here you can see, again, all around Washington, D.C., great historic markers. Tell you where you are and what you're doing. So right here, when they called D.C. a swamp, it was a swamp that was filled in. And where we are right now, you see that star? We'd have been in the water, as would the entire World War II Memorial. The ships came right here. This was a working waterfront. Even into the 1800s. And if you've seen my videos on the C&O Canal, the canals started here. Here's a lock keeper's house. There was a canal right here. That must be a very important person coming down the street to hear sirens this early. Everywhere you go, you'll find these signs. Even if you just want to come here and wander around, you don't have to have a plan. Sometimes it's good to have a plan, but you don't have to have a plan. Because everywhere you go, you can see these plaques and guideposts to help you get around. But just take a really quick look at this lock keeper's house, because this would have been the waterfront in early Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. became our capital in 1790. And at that time, there were kind of three parts to it. There was Georgetown, which was already a city, a town, a trading post, very commercial. There was Alexandria, Virginia, or Arlington, Virginia, across the water. And then, guess what we call the district proper, or the city of Washington. And those three parts came together to make our nation's capital. And then Arlington decided it didn't really want to participate anymore. And so what's left of Washington, D.C. is the 2/3 on the Maryland side of the water. Hey, Tommy! Tommy, you better give me those dates, because my calendar is booking. Hey, and this is where we're going to go, by the way. So, Tommy, I just did part of the tour, I hope, that you and I are going to be on, if you're interested here. And it won't be rainy. It won't be rainy. I'm sure of it. So we're walking up from the World War II Memorial, up 17th Street, heading to the World War I Memorial. We're going out of order today, because we're just going to do part of my annual military appreciation hike on Memorial Day weekend. We'll do the whole hike, but I won't be streaming. My camera won't hold up. So that whole hike, that entire military appreciation hike, is about 4.5 miles. Now, along the way, we'll see other stuff too. So this is the organization of the American states. Basically the components of North America. And commemoration here to Queen Isabella. So many countries in South America belong to the Organization of American States. I don't know too much about them, but essentially kind of a, I don't want to say consortium, kind of a trade collective. And then here, and I will do a separate video on this one as well on my other channel, is the DAR, National Society of the Daughters of the American Revolution. I have not submitted my application yet. So in order to be a member of the DAR, you have to trace your ancestry to a patriot who served in the American Revolution on the revolutionary side. And I have 2 potentials, but I haven't done the official genealogical proof yet for those 2. And the only reason is, I mean, as a historian, I should know these things. That's a part of my family that I don't do a lot of research on, because I have these dudes who served in wars, and I tend to spend most of my time researching them. And it's difficult to stop. You can't stop. Not enough hours in a day. So this building, we're gonna do an inside tour someday. The DAR library is fantastic. And here, you'll see the designation as a registered historic landmark. All right, I need to walk faster. Got drenched. I know, and I do apologize. The faster I walk, I know the bumpier the stream. I do apologize. Exhibits, all kinds of stuff going on here at the DAR. We're gonna come up here and cross over so we can get a better look at the Corcoran building, which is on this side. And then here, the national headquarters of the American Red Cross. This building is a memorial to the women who served in the Civil War to provide comfort to the soldiers. To those wounded and suffering during the Civil War. And we're crossing over now. Thank you for joining me in the rain, everyone. I knew if I didn't get out today, this is going to be a very busy week at work. As always, I need to get out and recharge. Here's another great view of the American Red Cross headquarters. Beautiful. There is some kind of a race going on today, some other events. Already hearing announcements. And if music starts for some reason, I'm gonna have to talk. Yeah, DC food trucks. DC food trucks. Not open yet. Some of them are your usual variety. But every once in a while you get a really unique food truck. You have to be on the lookout. When I worked here, at least I'd say once a quarter, like every 3 months or so, I would have to buy a death dog from the hot dog truck. They're so bad, but they're so good. All right, we're still walking north slowly on 17th Street. And here's the Corcoran building. Love that one. Little bumpy here on the sidewalk. Taking my time just a bit. And then we'll pick up the pace. The Corcoran building dedicated to art. As you may be able to guess. Don't need the sprinklers today. Oh well. Yeah, everything's looking really green around here right now, except my lawn at home. My lawn at home is a flippin' mess. It is brown and yuck. Oh, I'm gonna get super hit with the fountain. Woo! All right, and here we are at New York Avenue, and this is the White House grounds here. And a lovely memorial that I described in a prior video. And honest to goodness, I can't remember what it's for. It's the 1st Division Memorial. Is that World War I? Is it World War II? I think the 1st Division. I will be corrected. I think the 1st Division is the division that protects the nation's capital. All right, and everybody will tell me if the lens is getting foggy. Let me know, please. There is an embassy here in one of these buildings. Can't remember which one, but it's in one of my videos. And we'll take another look back at the beautiful Corcoran building. You can see at the top there, Raphael, Rembrandt, Rubens, Reynolds, Michelangelo, the Corcoran Building for the Arts. And here's the White House entrance gate, the west entrance gate. And this building here is the old executive office building, which has offices for old executives. No, it has buildings related to the executive branch of the government. Good morning. It's the Dwight D. Eisenhower building. Always say hello to your Secret Service agents. They are extraordinarily friendly and helpful and cheerful and protect all of us and do a great job. It is pouring. It is pouring with rain right now. So thank you for joining me during this very rainy walk to the World War I Memorial from the World War II Memorial. I do too. Thank you, Tomby. I do try to understand, when you're traveling, and if I'm on the underground and everyone in London is going to work and I'm off touring and traveling and being a tourist, I know you all want your quiet. I think I learned quickly that when Americans say good morning, some Europeans are quite startled by that. But when you come here, Tomby, and you say good morning, you'll get a good morning back, and you'll get chatter for the rest of your trip. I mean, we are, talk about some of those, core American values that we don't want to lose as a country because they're so important. Friendliness, hospitality, hard work are so important to us. I absolutely love it when I'm out doing these things and someone asks me a question and asks me how to get somewhere. And I don't understand people who get annoyed by that. If you're visiting my part of the country or my country and you want to know something, I'm going to tell you, and you're going to have to shut me up because I may not stop. I've made friends doing that. Okay. That wasn't me. That wasn't me. It's because it's 8 o'clock. If I were at the embassies right now at 8 o'clock, the national anthem plays at all embassies and military installations. And because this is normally my time of day for hiking, I usually catch the national anthem. That little alarm may have had something to do with it. Now I just remembered that last week I had a little incident with some mud. And I always keep an extra pair of shoes and socks in my car. And I just remembered today I forgot to replace them. My feet are soaked. My feet are soaked. So here's another one of those buildings. Now we're on Pennsylvania Avenue. And there is an embassy in this building. I don't know which one it is. I don't. Can't remember. You'll have to watch my prior. This is the Renwick Gallery, part of the Smithsonian Institution, directly across from the White House. Exhibits all the time. Lots of cool stuff to do. So here we are. We're gonna walk down Pennsylvania Avenue in front of the White House and end up at the World War I Memorial. So this street was closed for several years after the Oklahoma City bombing. And it wasn't reopened, I don't think, until it was several years later, because the idea was to close it to vehicle traffic. If you don't know about the Oklahoma City bombing, look it up. Very, very sad day. But this street in front of the White House, which is closer than Constitution Avenue, which has the whole South Lawn between it and the White House. But here, as you'll see in a second, you get really up close with the White House. So this street was closed to vehicular traffic, but I think a tremendous improvement, because now it's pedestrianized. And now people can walk freely all around here without worrying about traffic. And if you've seen my videos, you know how I have to dodge buses and cyclists, primarily cyclists. I don't really care. Good morning, and thank you for all you do for us. We appreciate it. Even on a rainy day, thank you. Can't be fun patrolling out here in the absolute... Look at the rain! It's pouring. Okay. But it's worth the view. Even in the rain, it's worth the view. Only thing is I have to make sure my camera doesn't slip out of my hand. Oh, wow, Tomby. Tomby, just make sure you get the visas and the work permits all worked through. I know you know that. Wouldn't want you have you moving here and being stuck. So Tennessee's beautiful. I don't know, but it's a big country. There's a lot of great places to be. Tennessee is beautiful though. So between the White House, or I'm sorry, north of the White House is Lafayette Park, which is site of many a protest all the time. But that's a beautiful thing about being in the United States. We are free to protest peacefully. And we do that. It's another one of those core values. Oh, there's a Secret Service car with the hood up. That can't be good. And here it is. All this walking in the rain. Oh, look at the duck. Okay, that's really cute. My dad would like that. My dad likes birds. All right, so if you can see the fountain in front of the White House with a duck perched right there. It's a great view. It's really stunning at night. That night stream I did from here, I couldn't stop streaming. I only intended to stream for like 20 minutes, but I had like 80 people in the chat. And I typically have like 5. And so my watch hours aren't so great, just because of what I do. And I'm not a real YouTuber either, but I couldn't pass up all the watch hours. So I kept streaming and I kept streaming. And then I went to one of the local bars and I kept streaming. And I kept telling people to go away. And there were still like 45 people in chat when I said I had to go away. But this is the White House, Washington, D.C., United States of America. And yep, you can get this close. And no, I'm not zooming. This is not a zoom. This is just, there's the bars and there's There's the White House. On a sunny morning, when the beautiful sunrise sun is hitting this building with a blue sky in the background, there is no better picture. This building glows. It absolutely glows. And this fountain is always going. Oh, that's awesome, Tomby. Fantastic. All right. We will now head to our final destination this morning. There's a view of Lafayette. It's kind of probably hard to see the statue. Lafayette, who you should know from your history, and if not, you should know from the musical Hamilton, which I love. Who doesn't like Hamilton? Even if you're a historian, who doesn't like Hamilton? Yeah, they get a lot of stuff wrong, but it's good history fun, and they do get a few things right that are really important. Kind of like the musical Six, about the 6 wives of Henry VIII. It's just a bit of fun, but I was amazed at how many really great history facts are woven into all those songs. When I went to see Six, yeah, there's all the youngsters clapping and singing along, but you could tell a few of us oldsters in the crowd, like when we would laugh, like when no one else would laugh, we'd be like, yeah, we know we're smarter, because we were getting all the subtle jokes that you would have to know your history to get. So we're walking east of the White House rather quickly toward Pershing Park and the site of the World War I Memorial. Now, could I have gotten there quicker? Yes, but I wouldn't have walked past the White House. So I took a little detour to walk past the White House. And the next building we'll see here is the Treasury Building. Speaking of Alexander Hamilton, it's the Treasury Building. Good morning. Thank you for all you do for us. We appreciate it. And this is the Treasury Building. Speaking of Hamilton, Alexander Hamilton, the first Secretary of the Treasury. This is not his statue here, though. This is Albert Gallatin. I have to learn a little more about Albert Gallatin, because there are things around here named after him, and I don't know why. So we will have to do some research on that. Here, I like the sidewalk here. You gotta love that. From an architectural perspective, that sidewalk is dazzling. Fantastic. Another one of my favorites here, this building is now the Milliken Center, I always say that, the Milken Center, one of those think tanks. But I want to do some research on this building. I came here once, but they just had begun this construction on the sidewalk here. I don't know if they're taking it down or putting it back up. But as soon as the building is free and clear, we're going to come back and take a really good look at that building and get some historical factoids on that one. And if you've watched my other streams, you've seen me take a really good look at this building here, which is now the Truist Bank. But this beauty here, there are 2 or 3 buildings in DC that are just like this. Red brick with a gold cupola on the top. And this one is, I think it's 1867. Alareza Cefe. Can I tell you about San Jose? I don't know. I don't know about San Jose. I'm so sorry. So that's in the Southwest, and we're in Washington, D.C. And America is such a big, huge place. And I'm sorry, I don't know much about San Jose, but I hear it's beautiful. There's also a song, Do You Know the Way to San Jose? I think this was some kind of an insurance company. I'm probably gonna get that wrong. But as it says, organized in, I think that says 1867 or 1887. You'll have to look at my other video for the dates. This one, tremendous. It has the White House gift shop on the bottom floor now, but this building here, the architectural design here with all of the elements kind of carved in above the windows. And I'd like to kind of take a look at all those symbols someday and see what they all mean. But we're gonna head this way. And then this building, which houses the Old Ebbitt Grill, is also a beauty. And the Old Ebbitt Grill has been the site of a restaurant or tavern like forever. Forever. So now we're walking south on 15th Street from the White House, from Pennsylvania Avenue, down 15th Street toward our final destination, which is the World War I Memorial, which is just around the corner. And here's another look at this one. There's so much detail. It's really unfortunate that literally that we can't climb up on scaffolds and take a really good look at some of these designs, especially above these windows. And there are plenty of places to look for this information. So because much of the architecture in our nation's capital is governed or consulted on by the National Capital Planning Commission, their records, as well as other public records, have very detailed information about the architectural design. So I can find a lot of information about the buildings I'm looking at, all on public records, including all the, all the design features. Now here's the Old Ebbitt Grill. That brunch looks lovely. And here, all around this area, you'll find these commemorations of, I guess what one would say, not necessarily celebrities or big politicians or leaders, also just regular people who made contributions to our society. But yeah, look at that great work. Like that. And this is also around the corner, the Hamilton, like my favorite place for music here. So what's coming up? Oh, that's old. That's all past. I'm gonna come here on the 6th of June, D-Day, for the Carbon Leaf concert. I love Carbon Leaf. This is the old Metropolitan Bank building. This would have been good to look at from across the street, but I'm not zigging and zagging today. Booker T. Washington here. So this is kind of like our local walk of fame around 15th Street, 14th Street, going all the way down to F and E streets. Now this building, if you saw my video from the rooftop bar called The View, V-U-E, at the Hotel Washington, this is the Hotel Washington. And you can see up there that rooftop bar. I did a video from there. Oh, wonderful view. View of the White House, the Washington Monument, planes heading in for a landing at the airport. Lots of buses. Now just look at that work. I'm guessing that's fresco work, painted plaster. around the windows of the Hotel Washington. Quite interesting. And now we are just a block away. How is California in general? Is it, oh, San Jose, California. Yes. Why am I thinking Texas? Why am I thinking Texas? Okay, hole in the sidewalk. Gotta watch that around here. Oh my God, my worst tumble in DC was in front of the Hamilton Club. And that hole is still there. That was 2 years ago. And I went in the hole and I was walking super fast like I always do. And I just flew forward. And my husband was in front of me and I knocked him down and I hurt him. He was hurt more than I was. And my glasses flew off my face and went way up the sidewalk. I mean, I'm not kidding. My glasses flew 15 feet up the sidewalk. So, and I mean, at the end of the day, I wasn't really injured, but my poor husband, he really hurt his hip. So here's the start of those plaques that we were looking at, the extra mile, the Points of Light Volunteer Pathway. So the Points of Light Foundation. Oh, I have a certificate from Points of Light many years ago for volunteer work I did. So those plaques are Edgar J. Helm, Frederick Douglass, can't read that one, Paul Harris, Edgar Allen, Clara Barton, Millard and Linda, can't read it, Booker T. Washington, William Edward Hall, several others, Dorothea Dix, Susan B. Anthony, Jane Addams, and Ida B. Wells. Okay, and it's called The Extra Mile, for those who've gone the extra mile. Oh, I love that. Okay, I have walked down this sidewalk, I'm gonna say it again, a million times, and I never saw that this is where you start. I just always wandered around and looked at the plaques. So California, I mean, with all places in the United States, it just depends on where you are. Some of the bigger cities, and this is not a political comment, sadly, some of the bigger cities are at times in a state of lawlessness, and it's not safe. I would stay away from Los Angeles. Other parts of California are absolutely beautiful. California is a huge state, so there's lots to see there. And we are here at the World War I Memorial. And there's that, okay, there was a run or something going on here, and there's a lot of music. So I'm gonna have to talk loud and over the music. And also to get myself, in prior videos when I've casually passed war memorials, I've said I'm not gonna really talk about it because I like to be in a certain frame of mind and make sure I'm not being silly, you know, or entertaining other parts of conversation that really aren't appropriate for the dignity of these memorials. So that's why today I made a special point of coming here. Now we're entering on the 15th Street side of the World War I Memorial. Now this memorial, compared to the World War II Memorial, I think is absolutely fitting. The only criticism we have is that it was just finished last year. It was finished over 100 years after the war ended, and so absolutely no one who served in World War I was here to see this memorial completed. But that's okay for those of us who are descendants or just historians. This memorial does what it needs to do, which is remind us. But just for context, the historic Hotel Willard is right here, formerly called Willard's Hotel. There's been a hotel here at this site since before the Civil War. And on September 6th, 1862, when the Union soldiers were marching from the Virginia campaign up to the Maryland campaign, culminating in the Battle of Antietam, they went right past this hotel. So that's a nice bit of historic context here. We're entering from what is kind of the back of the memorial, but that's okay. And there are several components to this memorial. The National Wildlife Service, National Wildlife Federation, and the American Communications Network provided this bald eagle statue in commemoration of the bicentennial of our nation's symbol, 1782 to 1982. Beautiful. Now, why would the American Communications Network care about a bird in a park about World War I? Well, if you know anything about pigeons, check out the history of the pigeons used in World War I. And my ancestor, who served in World War I, perhaps both of my great-grandfathers, I know at least one of them, but perhaps both of my great-grandfathers had something to do with communications pigeons. I was just about to look at that historic plaque, but there's a QR code, and I haven't figured out how to stop my phone from triggering automatically, even when I'm live streaming.
Thanks for joining us up here around the stage. Come on.
That is ridiculously loud.
Come join us.
Unfortunately. Very loud. So here at the back of the fountain is a really nice quote. And when there isn't ridiculously loud announcers screaming on microphones, this is a nice place for quiet reflection. Not today, but that's okay. Our nation's capital is for all kinds of events and celebrations, not just commemoration and reflection.
Welcome to the 28th Race for Hope. Before we get started,
All right, trying to talk over this guy and this race. This guy's like 2 blocks away and so freaking loud. I know. You should be hyped, Tomby. You should be hyped. This is a great place to be. Yeah, I'm gonna go have an ice cream or two. So this is the race for hope in the fight against brain tumors. Okay, I certainly support that, but this guy is just very loud. Alrighty, so here, General John J. Pershing, commander of all the armies, World War I. And on a sunny day, these sculptures, reliefs, carvings, they really pop. So let me start over here. Really, the overall path of the war is documented here on this carving, with the specific battles on the Western Front. And you can see the arrow here heading to the Battle of the Meuse-Argonne. And then, more specifically, that battle is blown up here with all the detail. And my ancestor, who was wounded severely during World War I, he did survive. He was, I'm looking for it here. He began in the Avincourt sector. Okay, so the Avincourt sector is here. And then was wounded up closer to, let's find where it is. I think it's way up here. No, it's down here, Montfaucon. There it is. Yeah, he was wounded severely on day 1, September 26, when they went over the top. As I think that's the action commemorated in Blackadder Goes Forth. And not to be silly about it, but the ending of Blackadder Goes Forth is an amazing commemoration to those who served in World War I. But this map here, and again, compared to World War II, I think this memorial is much more understated and quite appropriate. I think all the elements of this memorial certainly fit. And then a sculpture there of General Pershing. So this would be what I would consider like the entrance of the memorial here from the 14th Street side. And now going to the element of the memorial that was just completed last year. This just all-inspiring sculpture over here. Lots of steps in this part. I have to wonder how many people tumble into this little pool over here. This little, I guess, kind of cyclorama here just goes through the different battles of the war. And again, understated, not overdone, not over-decorated, not trying to commemorate every state. I just still don't think the World War II memorial makes sense. I'm not going to go up to that guide because of the QR codes. But here's where you begin, and at night this is lit up beautifully. And of course, if we had a sunrise today. Ben, hello. It's been a day. Oh, Tommy, absolutely, and thank you for your service. That's why I feel like I have to be in a certain frame of mind. You know, if I'm off on a regular adventure and I come across a war memorial, sometimes I really just, it's not that I want to ignore it, it's just that I want to make sure I'm not being disrespectful or silly. Not that I'm doing that anyway, but you know, sometimes we're having fun chats. And I want to make sure I'm doing the right thing. And as, you know, a historian and a genealogist, going way back to my great-great-great-grandfather and two before him who served in the Revolution and then the Civil War, several ancestors who fought in World War I, several who fought in World War II, and two grandfathers who I knew, and then my dad who also served in the United States Navy, uncles. I just grew up having a lot of respect. I think it also helps to grow up in this area too. So, might be a little difficult to see and distracting with the rain, but there's a pool around the entirety of this memorial, going toward the back where we saw the fountain, the cascading fountain. So this pool continues around, and I wonder how many people just kind of are taking pictures and they might walk backwards and fall right into the water. So this water's a little bit deep. I'd say this is 2 feet over here. What you can't really get, unfortunately on a rainy day, is right here. Very hard to see. You can kind of see a little bit of a difference in the shading of the stone here, but this is also a reflecting pool. It's literally 3/4 of an inch of water when it's not raining. And this centerpiece reflects the sculpture behind. And you can't really see it here, obviously because it's raining. But on a non-rainy day, this central part where those folks are walking is actually a reflecting pool. And you would get the reflection of the sculpture right here in that pool. So this sculpture just unveiled last year, the final component of this memorial, and really worth the wait. And I was one of those people who was wondering, when is this memorial going to be done? You know, all of my great-grandfathers passed away a long time ago. But when is this going to be done? And I think for those who kept wondering and waiting, I think they were just, I hope, overwhelmed when they saw this. So you begin with this young man, and it's the story of this young man. And he's saying goodbye to his family. And his mom doesn't want him to go. but he's going. And so you'll see the face of this particular soldier throughout all the pieces of this relief. And he's here, and he's jumping in, and he's doing his part. In the fighting, and maybe leading the charge. And seeing his men wounded, and seeing his friends die. And being helped home, being helped to victory, but coming back a different man. Or maybe not coming back at all. And that's what this sculpture tells. And it gets me choked up every time I walk by here. Oh, so you will be here Memorial Weekend. Awesome. Well, Tommy, let's lock up a morning. And I can take you on a walk. You said before. Let me just get another view here of this beautiful memorial. And another duck. These ducks are just chilling in the rain here. Get one more look back here at this beautiful memorial. And then we'll walk back down 14th Street. Get another look at the Willard Hotel from up here. Now, Tommy, before you said you'd walk as far as I wanted, as long as there was a stop for tea along the way. I don't know if you'll like our version of tea, let me tell you. But there's awesome places for breakfast along the way. So we'll do a proper breakfast, and I hope we'll get a proper tea. So the historic Willard Hotel, known at the time as the Willard's Hotel, now the Willard Intercontinental. I would love to video inside that hotel. But as you can see, the components here, just understated, appropriate. I find this to be such a great memorial. It is, I hate to rank them, I really do. Obviously the Vietnam Veterans Memorial is a landmark, and I think one would have to put that at the top. I think this one has jumped into second place for me over the Korean Veterans Memorial, which is beautiful and amazing too, and we'll visit on another walk because it is so artistically different from other memorials as well. I think while this is beautiful and amazing, it is kind of your standard commemoration, right? With maps and statues and plaques and etc. and storytelling. The Korean Veterans Memorial tells it in a very different way, and of course the Vietnam Veterans Memorial tells it in a stunningly different way. And here is a sculpture of what we're looking at. And this is an appropriate time to leave this memorial because there are veterans here now. And I never want to be chatting on a stream, even as respectful as I try to be. I never want to be chatting on a stream when someone is trying to reflect at one of these places. So we'll head down 14th Street until my phone dies. You're all with me? I used to never upload these live streams. I just would enjoy live streaming and get an extra sub or two. But I've been getting quite a few watch hours from these live streams. So I have started to upload them, as rambling as they are. I don't expect anyone to ever look at them, but for me, these videos are my research logs. All my little shorts that I do. I started doing this to record where I was every day. I can't be trusted to write field notes, and that's on my list of things to do. I've got to get better with my field notes, right? This is Freedom Park, by the way, over here, Freedom Plaza. Nice park when it's not full of people, and we'll visit there another time. And then the building of the District of Columbia government there, which we'll take a look at as well. It is a timestamp diary, yes. I am terrible at logs. I am better at planning, right? I always make my lists ahead of what I'm doing, right? I'm always forward looking, I don't know. But then what I don't do is go back and document it. Oh my God, all the cataloging that I have to do for all my artifacts. It's a lifetime. I need to retire. Herbert Hoover Building, Department of Commerce. I hope there's a crosswalk down here. No, I'm gonna cross here because there is a building that I want to take a look at. Down there would be better to view it from across the street, but we're not going to be able to cross back over. Okay, always something going on here, even at 8:30 in the morning. Okay, I really want to put this umbrella down. And every time it just turns to just spitting rain, then it just pours. So I'm hoping the lens is not foggy. My eyes are foggy, so I can't tell. Like my glasses are completely fogged up right now. I'm sure this is probably the bumpiest and most annoying video I've ever done. Oh, thank you, Tomby. So Tomby, as you can see, like traffic on the main roads here is heavy at all times, day or night, but just the little side streets are fine. So this is a main road, but you could go one block over and it's fine. So I always tell people who are traveling here, like, don't be dismayed about traffic or parking. It's really a walkable city. Now, but I'm also somebody who loves walking through London, and everybody tells me I'm crazy. But it's a really walkable city. And the pansies are just about done. So the next round of annuals we'll be planting soon. 2 more weeks. Well, a week and a half. May 15th is our date for planting annuals. Can't plant before then. They will freeze. Everybody jumps the gun and plants their annuals. Everybody loses them when they freeze. So all around the city, you will see different. This one's good. No QR code here. Different kind of plaques in different neighborhoods with historical, and here some architectural design information. This one about that Department of Commerce building right across the street with all of the cool elements. It's a massive building. It's huge. Oops. A lot of the runners and walkers are coming up this way. And then of course you can orient yourself everywhere in the city. It's just easy to do. It's really easy to do. And if you think you're in like, so just north of this area, which is more the government district, right? Just north and all around is more the commercial business districts. But there are great things to see in those areas too. As you know from many of my videos, much of the architecture is restored or preserved and beautiful. This is the amazing Ronald Reagan building, completed when I was working just around the corner here. When I used to work for FEMA, yes I did, and they do amazing work. Despite what you hear, the people of FEMA are the most dedicated government employees I've ever known. This was completed when I worked there, and or maybe a little bit before that. This is before that. But I remember having an event here when it was still like you could still smell the carpet glue, when it was still a really new building, and I was just a kid. I was like just a kid, just a whippersnapper in my first job. Cool. Love this fountain because it changes colors. I do. 1850 to the memory of Oscar. I think I've asked myself this question before. I never answered it. Oscar Strauss, 1926. Don't know who Oscar Strauss, author and diplomat. Okay. Oscar Strauss, author and diplomat. And I think I always say I'm going to need to look him up, and I think I haven't. Back to the Department of Commerce building. We'll get to the corner, and then I will end this ridiculously long, rambling, rainy stream. Because I was going to do this rain, shine, or hurricane today. So I'm glad you all could join me. And you can see the next street. We're back down to the National Mall. I'm going to take a quick look here at the Federal Triangle Heritage Trail. Make no little plans. No. Only make grand plans. And that's my problem, Tomby. I make grand plans for my research. I make my itinerary. I make my checklist. I make my, what do you call it? My research plan. And then I don't do my field notes afterward. So I'm going to go home today and do some field notes. But yeah, these streams and my little shorts, they are field notes. And when I come back 10 and 15 and 20 years from now, and we see the evolution of these areas, I'll have something to look back on and compare the architecture, including, by the way, all the flora and the fauna in the area, which my dad reminds me about the birds. Documenting the native flowers and trees and how those are incorporated into the landscapes. It's important too, to tell it's not all about the architecture. They're important too. Oh my gosh, Tomby. I know, right? And I'll make a lot of plans, but you also have to plan in the plan for replanning the plan. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? You got to remember to put those little pivot points in with just a little bit extra time, just a tiny bit. You're probably trying to squeeze everything in to every minute of every day. And you got to plan for the unplanned, because every trip I have gone off the path and off the plan and maybe dwelt for hours in a place that I didn't even know existed. And that's the goal. That's what you want to happen, right? It's research. Okay, this is gonna get really loud for a minute. It's research, but it's exploration. Hopefully a runner hasn't broken an ankle. No. But yeah, you have to plan for those little detours and not get, I'm sure you don't, I used to get angry at myself for going off plan. But, then I realized that's where all the good stuff is. The good stuff is all the stuff you didn't plan to do or find. Like last weekend, the main street in Collingswood, New Jersey. Who on earth would have thought that the main street in Collingswood, New Jersey would be so lovely? And it was. And I spent time when I was visiting Philadelphia in a little detour, like here now. So I'm at the Museum of American History, and we'll end the stream here at this lovely little park, because these nice little green spaces are everywhere in Washington. Everywhere. And here it's just a hodgepodge of stuff, but it looks beautiful. Not going to sit on the bench. I'll get drenched. Thanks everyone for joining me on this ramble today, and that's what it is. It's a total ramble today here in Washington, D.C. I hope everyone has a great week. Join us for Film Club today. It's May, it's Military Appreciation Month, and it's war films today. It's a film club special. Just me and Stasis. So if you're coming for Jay, he won't be with us today. He'll be with us in spirit. Congratulations to him and his family. I hope everyone has a great day. Check us out on Stasis Geeks channel at 3 p.m. Eastern Time in the US, 8 p.m. in the UK. Take care, everyone.